She was the woman who sold fruit so diligently, working since morning. Who killed her? They said she was a Sunni, a spy. But I think she was actually the leader of the popular faction. No, they said she was trying to start a popular uprising. Rumors spread through the alleys. The song flowed, changing without a moment. To refine through the different faces and voices, some wiped away tears and clasped hands, while others, while clearing their stalls, glanced at the police and military. Peter burrowed into the crowd and whispered, "Otangs fell for the liberation of the people. She shed blood while calling for the overthrow of dictatorship and democracy." The words soon passed through the lips of another merchant and flew onto the fruit crates of a neighboring stall. A woman who died for the people, yes, and someone else rephrased it, calling it the spark of a people's uprising, into something even more provocative. As the day wore on, different voices overlapped in every alley of the market. "The funeral is tomorrow afternoon, isn't it?" "No, I heard it's tomorrow afternoon." "It's not a funeral, it's a protest." "Will the military stay still?" "There will be blood in the square today." Kim Min-cheol and Peter also handed out leaflets to the Capitol women. A woman leaning against an old wall, smoking a cigarette, smiled and said, "Otangs was a saint. I know her. Are you making her a saint? But that's fine. If it's a funeral, we should go too, even if the military stopped her." "When did they stop her?" "We were always blocked." They walked tirelessly, their sweat-soaked clothes soaking through, from the market to the back alley bars and then back to the retail district. Their voices resonated like priests preaching the gospel. Everywhere the same question arose. Did she really fight against the military? Or is she just dead and you're using her? It doesn't matter. It's more important to vent our anger through her death. Her death had already been sacredly dramatized. Her name was etched on every storefront in the wholesale district, every billboard in the market, and every torn poster in the bar. The rumors that had persisted for days were now weighing on the city. "Did you hear they declared martial law? They say my cousin's name is on the arrest list. The coup is imminent." Checkpoints multiplied every morning, soldiers with guns, military trucks, bustling flashing headlights, engines roaring, chants and shouts. As Tae-ho passed the street, he couldn't shake the anxiety that his name might be on the list somewhere. Otang's brown wooden coffin, which had been laid to rest at the central hospital for days, was finally placed in the middle of the square. The nail marks and worn surface of the wood seemed to testify to the long wait and the prepared stage. Priests waved chimneys and burned incense around the black coffin, and mourners steadily filled the square. As if by design, a gorilla skin from Mogolro hung from a tall flagpole on one side of the square. The skin, fluttering in the wind, sometimes looked like a flag, sometimes like a ghost. People watched in silence, whispering, "Is that sending Otangs off, or is Otangs seeing him off?" It was her final farewell to the people she encountered every day. The wooden pallets, the smell of fish and fruit, and her deep eyes. People lowered their eyes in silence, while the noise and smell of the marketplace faintly lingered. Only the empty space she left remained deep in her heart. Someone's laughter, the sound of footsteps, echoed sadly in the space without her. A towering round building, sometimes resembling the subtle curves of a mosque or the serene dome of a domed cathedral. Below it, merchants and people mingled, and life and daily life naturally permeated the space. Like that image, the round shape of the building was a space open to all, accepting of all. People dressed in black gathered around. Young people, their faces covered with cloth, lit. A large fire on one side of the square, and the smoke rose widely and thickly. They wrapped cloths around firewood, dipped in oil and poured it on the firewood. Torches lined the square, sending up black smoke and red flames. Beyond them, a double layer of marksmen and popularists surrounded the square. Their guns were pointed skyward, their muzzles resting on their shoulders. Police and soldiers were lining up along the wide intersection. Shields and clubs gleamed in the sunlight, as if in sync with the enemy. A shrill voice rang out from the crowd. "They're the ones who aimed their guns. We've got flowers. Let's protect the funeral. Let's protect Otangs. The people are not afraid." A mixture of crying and chants shook the square. Even one wrong step felt like a toppling. At that moment, Alphonse appeared at the head of the funeral committee. He stared straight at the riot police, and the crowd in the square, eyes unblinking. Peter was beside him. Tae-ho's heart sank in shock. Peter, who knew her death better than anyone, was standing next to him. Everything seemed absurd. Did he instigate this? Is that what politics is all about? Yun Tae-ho whispered to himself. Isn't I an accomplice too? I did it to save Min Chol, but even at that moment, the voices of the people surged like waves. Get back, put down your guns. Remember, O Tense, we can't stop the people's funeral. The citizens' cries grew louder. Buried in the commotion, I couldn't take a single step forward. My throat was choked and no sound escaped me. That's when it all began. In the center of the square, white chrysanthemums were thrown onto a black wooden coffin. One by one, two by two, the petals clattered against the coffin, making a soft sound. It felt like fragments of sorrow or the echo of a resolution. In an instant, hundreds, thousands of flower petals fell from the sky. The people continued to advance, offering condolences, and the procession formed an unbroken circle surrounding the coffin. As if forming a vast circular barrier, people linked shoulder to shoulder, their cries and chants supporting each other. Within that circle lay the death of a single person, but outside it stood the rage and hope of an era. At that moment, the riot police's shield struck the ground. A heavy metallic resonance shook the earth and spread. It was a single impact, but its echo echoed through all the chants and chants. The singing was drowned out. The entire square was enveloped in a silence as if holding its breath. And then the shouts erupted again. Remember, O Tense, the people will not die. Young populist resistance fighters, their faces covered with cloths, formed a circle around the central market. AK-47s slung over their shoulders. The barrels of their guns were pointed skyward. The air was filled with the tension of an explosion at any moment. The soldiers stood facing each other. Their shields aligned, but the gunfire was piercing. The eyes of the young men holding the caskets showed no sign of retreat. The eyes of the mourners lined up wavered, but their steps remained steady. Police and military shields, the people's flowers. The resistance's AK-47s and a gorilla skin hung from a flagpole. The square was no longer a funeral hall. It was a front line of resistance, a living ember, ready to explode. Countless petals fluttered across the white cloth covering the wooden coffin, and people surrounded it with clenched fists. Some sobbed, some sang, and others danced in circles. Tae-ho closed his eyes in silence. He was an accomplice. Does different goals mean I'm not responsible for my actions? But Min Chol was still nowhere to be seen. The tension in the square washed away the noise, making it disappear. The solemnity of a festival of death hung in the air. Only a tremble, like a human heartbeat. The roar of the gorillas, heard in the forest, seemed to echo all the way to this square. They held a farewell ceremony on the central market plaza. As the ceremony drew to a close, with her portrait swaying in the wind, Peter suddenly stepped forward. He raised both hands and shouted through the crowd, I am Peter Lampard, a teacher from Yaoundé Lycée. Let us shout this out loud once more, so that this thunderous applause and your cheers can be heard by everyone in the jungle and the safari city. The reason we are holding the Torchlight March for People's Liberation and democracy in this square is because Ah Tong's was martyred for this country. She symbolizes the flower of democracy, and by igniting the passion for people's liberation, we will fulfill her will. For this cause, the people of Yaoundé, Douala, Garoua, and all the cities have gathered to light the torch of democracy. She did not die in vain. Today we are opening a new path. This is no longer a country ruled by a dictator. From now on, let us build a country ruled by the people. A murmur erupted among the people. Some widened their eyes, others raised their fists, but many bowed their heads in fear. Alphonse watched from the crowd, his teeth clenched. A Sunni VIP guard guarded him. He frowned and muttered softly, That guy, Peter. Right here? Peter shouted louder, not turning around. We will no longer suffer oppression and exploitation. A new country, a federation where the people of each region govern themselves, has begun. Let's overthrow the dictatorship and achieve a parliamentary system. Achieving a federal system. Achieving a parliamentary system. Peter's chant sent waves of applause through the crowd, and as if responding, the young people chanted with a mixture of cheers and tears. The elderly men looked at each other, seemingly bewildered. It was the moment when the morning of the funeral turned into a furious agitation. On a rooftop above the market, plainclothes agents quietly issued orders through walkie-talkies.